Hello everyone, this is Cross. What I'd like to talk to you about today is my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign. This is journal entry number 2. We started off this session with a black dragon attack. This was the big cliffhanger from our session 1. They just encountered a black dragon and started the session off rolling initiative. Cool. So, immediately rolling initiative, every player kind of had their own plan, what they wanted to do. That was executed. Things started looking a little hairy, and eventually they found out that they were actually severely hurting this thing, that it was actually trying to get away, and they managed to kill it. So how did I play this creature? It's a black dragon. It's arrogant. Its history was that it had been encountering several different groups of humans, certain bandits roaming around in the woods trying to find resources, certain families trying to find resources. And what brought this dragon to the attention of the village was a tanner that was out with his 2 friends. He was hunting for crocodile leather and encountered this dragon, and he managed to escape. He put out a notice on the notice board, hoping to get someone's attention, someone that was willing to go help find his friends' bodies. But he told them that, I encountered this thing out there. I don't know what it was. I didn't see it, but I saw kind of some of what it could do. So I developed this history for this dragon. He was very young. He had just started establishing a lair. And this is where he was going to start building his area that was going to belong to him. And again, up until this point, no human had even remotely started to challenge him. So when this party comes in and is threatening his land, he thinks they're just more food. What can they possibly do to him? So he goes and attacks them and starts biting at them and starts trying to take them out. And he would have done so, but I included a mechanic called hero points. Each character can have up to 3 hero points, and they can spend those hero points to reroll dice, give themselves advantage on dice, use spells or other effects creatively. And another potential mechanic is to kind of describe how you're going to give yourself advantage to some, or not advantage, but resistance to some sort of attack, which saved their lives. Some of them were going to be hit with attacks that was just going to immediately one-shot, drop them down to 0 hit points, and they used this hero point and was able to stay up from that single attack. Overall, it is a fun system for the players to use to feel like they have a little bit more control over the randomness of the game, and there's a finite amount of points that they can spend. I award these points for completing certain quests, completing certain objectives, such as killing this black dragon awarded a hero point. And doing things for your personal story. So every character has their personal story, and as they advance that, they kind of acquire these points through that mechanic as well. So that's a little bit about hero points. Now, during the fight, I was very forgiving for my players. This is the first major conflict that they've had in my campaign. This is the 2nd session. Some of these players have played with me before, and some of them have not had that much time at my table. And some of the time that they have had has been with my one-shots, where they didn't quite get to play with this hero point mechanic, because I don't do the hero points in my one-shots. So what that requires from me is I need to not be as... this is what you said you did. You said you ended your turn, so therefore your turn ended, and now you have no chance of doing anything further. There's no point in this. Don't be it's my DM versus you players. Don't be adversarial. Um, if you want them to use this hero point mechanic, which I do, I need to be able to say, "Hey, okay, look, you're about to go down. You have this hero point to spend. I'm going to give you a second. Like, this is a new mechanic for you. This is a new concept. You can determine whether or not you want to spend the point now or kind of save it for later. I mean, that's the name of the game. And through that process, you're gonna teach them how to use this system so that later down the road you can be, okay, this effect is happening, and you're gonna kind of expect from them that they're aware of hero points, and if they're not saying I'm going to use a hero point, then they don't want to. And so that's really the learning lesson from D&D. You start off telling people these are the things that you can do just so you're aware, and once they start learning that, then at a certain point tell them, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm expecting you guys to learn it. I'm expecting you guys to know it. And therefore, from this point on, I'm not going to be saying these things. I'm going to be expecting you to be aware of them. And then when they start running into these little pitfalls that, oh man, I missed my attack of opportunity because I didn't tell them that they have one, they're expected to pay attention and watch the character move away from them. Hey, can I get an attack of opportunity? Yeah, sure, go for it. If they don't take an attack of opportunity, I'm either assuming that they're waiting for another opportunity from another guy, or they just don't want to use their reaction, or simply they're just not paying attention and therefore they don't get it. But that system comes later, kind of after you've established the atmosphere of the table, which takes a few sessions. It takes time. You know, you don't start off session one saying, okay, welcome to D&D. I know this is your first time, so what do? Well, I'm going to go and attack. I was like, okay, so you attack, and now what do? Well, I don't guess I do anything. Okay, well, you didn't move out of this, so therefore, blah, 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 Man, that's going to make that player feel awful, You can say, all right, just so you know, if you end your turn here, you're going to take damage because you're standing in the stuff. Oh, well, can I move out? Yeah, you have about 15 feet more of movement, so you can move out. And then that player's like, oh, okay. Well, and then he'll remember that, like, I almost messed up, but I didn't. And then later down the road, if he does the same thing again, you've already stated, I'm going to expect more of you guys, I'm not saying these things anymore. Then he takes that damage. Then after that mistake, he'll be, oh man, I remember when I almost did that the first time. I'm clearly still not paying attention, but now I fell into that trap twice. I gotta remember not to do that. And so you start allowing that player to kind of stand on his or her own 2 feet. And that's just a process of learning the game. You don't sit down to anything really and just know all the rules eventually, right out of the box. You have to experience it. You kind of have to go through it a few times. So that's what I was doing during the Black Dragon fight, is kind of educating my players on my table, my rules, and my hero point system. We left that fight. We traveled through the woods a little bit, kind of returned to our travel system of, you have to spend so many days traveling this way and so many days traveling the other way. Again, something I'm being very lax on while they learn it. And then they encountered these guards. Well, first they encountered our new player character, played by Hutch. And that was kind of an example of introducing a character in a strange way. He had reasons for being out in the woods. And bottom line is, he was heading the wrong direction. He was kind of lost, heading the wrong direction. And, that makes sense with this character. He's not a survivalist type character. He's a wizard from a wizard school. and he's out in the woods alone, kind of hurt and injured and disoriented, and didn't know which way was up, and accidentally ran into the party, and tried to sleep a character. I had initially both of them slept, but one of them reminded me that he's a half elf, can't be sleep, so played it off like he just kind of fell down to the ground once he saw what was happening, and used that distraction to kind of go ahead and get behind the wizard. Um, and then they were able to kind of RP out, meeting this new character, seeing that he was useful, seeing he had the same goals as them currently. Maybe not a long-term goal, but he was set up with the idea that I'm trying to do the same thing as you guys right now. I was hired by the same person as you. And that called back to what I said in the first session. If somebody else comes along, I will give them that job, and if they get it before you, then, sorry about your luck, but, I just can't sit around waiting on you to decide to come back and get it. So Valen was part of that crew that got hired by a moth to go get the herbs in lieu of the players. They encountered him, realized what was going on, and brought him along to kind of help deal with this. Now, they encountered some guards along the way. They were out there looking for some girl. It was cool that one of the players realized the cues there, that is this girl a noble? Yeah, actually, she's very important, and we're going to be in a lot of trouble if we don't find her. It seemed to be the general motivation there. Now, they let the players go fairly easily. There could be reasons for that I might not mention right on this video. But there was something about the way the players were acting, something that basically said to the guards, "All right, I don't think that this is who we need to be looking for." They were given a coin, and also identifying the guards. I made sure to have the sigil or the symbol on their surcoats, that designated. Once the players saw that symbol, hey, didn't we see that in town? Yes, you did. So you're able to see that these are guards, not bandits, that are roaming around in these woods. So that kind of helped them interact with them a little bit differently. The guards handed them a coin, a large, I said palm size, kind of copperish coin, which kind of gave them a trinket, a tool to use when encountering guards, as they were going to be in the future, saying, we encountered some guards and they cleared us. We encountered some guards and they cleared us. And they were able to show that coin a couple of times to de-escalate the situation a lot quicker than the first time. And I just kind of came up with that on the spot. I thought it'd be a cool way to help speed along the next encounters with the guards. And that was really what I was aiming to do, is make it to where they didn't have to constantly get hit with the same questions and everything. That coin kind of helps speed the future encounters along. So that's why I included that. They had a cool interaction with staying in camp with a few of the guards, having the ability to kind of RP with those guys a little bit, get some information, and then head out towards their objective of finding the herbs. So I set up this story that really didn't have anything to do with the characters. It just had to do something to do with the world and the general politics as a whole. This girl, Elena Reinhardt, gets kidnapped. What happens with this? And I talked about this last time. What happens to a story when the players are not really present to interact with it? Now, the players could have been going down the road and seen this encounter initially and maybe rescued her there. They could have been a day or so late and saw the aftermath of it. It just kind of depends on where they were at. All you do is just say, okay, on this day, this event's going to start. And assuming the players don't get involved at all, it's going to play out in a certain way. And it hasn't resolved yet, so I can't tell you how it's going to play out. But what they do know is that the guards, the two guards that was traveling with this noblewoman, and they caught that. They said, Isn't that a little light to be traveling?" Yes, it is. Um, so they're starting to see that something's going on here. Why is she traveling so light? Why does she not have guards with her? Only two guards. So there's something suspicious there going on. She gets ambushed and kidnapped, and luckily a merchant was coming down the road and spots these two guards that are in dire need of some medical attention. He does what he can, and then gets them to the city of Rye, where they're able to get restored back to health, and their story is relayed to the populace. They're able to gather guards and send them out. And then what I did is I just used my map and tracked to see how long all this process was going to take. And I just started making markers on my map. This event happens on this day, so the guards are going to arrive in town on this day. They're going to mobilize and send their guards out. It takes a day to get to the forest, 2 days to get to the river. We know that information from our previous quest. And so the guards are going to arrive at the river on this day, and they're going to say, well, we don't know where she is. I see travel south, east, and west. So we're going to split up and cover all three directions. So the first guards that they ran into was the ones heading south. The next set was the guards just kind of stationed there at that crossroad. And then as they headed towards the herbs, the guards, as I said, it started heading east down the river. So they encountered these bandits with a few dead corpses around. And so that situation had kind of changed, allowing the players to see that, in fact, this world's not going to wait around for them. They arrived when they arrived, and there was this other event going on that kind of interfered with what they were trying to do. But they didn't get ambushed by bandits like they thought they were going to. They did see two bandits arrested. They fished through their stuff. They didn't find the herbs that were already taken. Valen went to go see his comrades and saw the herbs sitting in a pouch on his companion's belt. Got them. They knew that they had a week to get the herbs back. And so the herbs were already harvested, so they had to start heading back. Now, what happened next was an interesting thing. The party started, the tension in the story started really high during the Black Dragon. Then it faded, and then the guards showed up, kind of bumping the tension back up a little bit. What's going on here? Then it faded, and then continued to stay faded through further encounters with the guards. It raised a little bit when they thought, hey, maybe these guards are not really guards. Is there, kind of suspicious that these guards are here? Maybe they're bandits in disguise. We don't know. They didn't turn out to be. So then they got the herbs, and they were on their way back to the city of Rye. They stayed the night. They started heading back towards the city. It was going to take them a day to get back to the city, so just kind of sitting there chatting. What are we going to do when we get back to the city? We need to give them our herbs. They were carrying a black dragon corpse with them on a raft that they had constructed, kind of made of wood and stuff. It was, just dragging it along. And they're sitting there just talking about this, and what I did was I sent a message to Clara, the player that plays Clara, and told her that you feel something hit you just below the chest, just above your stomach, kind of, right around your lung area, and you kind of feel this pinch and this kind of chill go down your spine. You reach and kind of instinctually touch it, and you look and you see blood on your hand. Now, I sent her this message first because I want the player to be reading this paragraph as I interrupt the players and say, you hear this sound, this sound, and followed with a, and one of the players is like, was that a cannon? Like, what is going on? And I don't say anything. Because what I'm waiting for what I'm waiting for the players to do is to take the initiative and start the scene, because this is their scene. This is an event that, and the player had to sit there and process what just happened. And so she reacts, she goes down, and just chaos begins to unfold. She's screaming, get down, and and everything's going haywire. Then she starts talking about needing her thing from her pack, and so Eris Key is grabbing her thing out of her bag, this box, and she opens it up and starts pulling out tech. She starts pulling out, she called it a Cat 9 or something cable. She pulls out a wristwatch. She pulls out a couple of pistols. She is assembling these pistols, and she plugs her wrist device into the back of her neck, like right behind her ear, and everybody's like, what is going on? What's happening? And so she's ready to go, and she pulls out this NPC Ashley that is essentially artificial intelligence. She is a hologram that assists Clara, kind of like a virtual PDA, if you will. And so here's now this NPC that is very worried about Clara, that is trying to figure out what's going on, and she is just looking out in the distance, just telling Clara this information. She's helping Clara. Mentions, I need to calibrate. I need you to look up, down, left, right. Stare at something far away, stare at something close. All right, your distance is calibrated. She wants to provide cover for Daniel, so she designates the half elf as Daniel. Ashley learns who Daniel is, and she wants a wall, so she springs up this iron wall that has all these markings and stuff on it. And what it is an iron piece of a wall that she saw where she's from, and there's graffiti and stuff all over it, but it's, to the players, it's weird markings and stuff. So that was interesting, because Ashley has no idea what this technology looks like. She doesn't know what a stone wall looks like. She knows what a solid stone wall would look like, the more advanced look of it. So that's what image she would present as a wall to hide behind, and it's so out of place where she put it. Player looks and scans and sees a mile away this guy running away, and that's where I concluded the session. And that was the thing. We introduced the fact that there is technology in the world somewhere. A lot of questions started being asked. How is this possible? There was a reference in the Day Nights channel of, is this time travel? No, it's not time travel. There is a city with technology. The rest of the world is mostly your standard D&D technology rating your stuff. But hey, I wanted a city that had technology, and I figured out a way, storyline wise, to make that work. And honestly, it does work. It does make sense. When you hear the story, it will make sense. And I don't have to worry about, well, if these people have all this technology, wouldn't they have, automatic rifles and just go out over a hill and just mow down all the knights? Well, that would be true if it was, our current military versus, Dark Ages military. That's exactly what would happen. But that's not the world we're in. We're in a world where people have magic spells. So they have, abilities that give them resistance to damage and all sorts of things. There are creatures that run around that are immune to weapons unless they're magical. So yes, that would happen in our world, but that's not what happens in this world. And that's what's important to realize, is do not limit yourself in your storytelling just because you're trying to push the boundaries. Anything and everything is possible with the Dungeons and Dragons system. It is a tool to be used to tell a story, and that's all. I am using the D&D 5e platform, and I have now introduced pistols. I've introduced artificial intelligence, and I've informed this player on how this interacts with the world that I have constructed. And when I told her everything that she knows, she said, okay, that makes sense. Now, of course, it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. You guys don't know the story. And you won't know the story until she tells you the story, because that's her secret to tell, not mine. We put her backstory together. She has her secrets, and she is free to reveal this information whenever she wants to. And because that's the way I like it at my table. And to be honest, it created an amazing scene that was played out. So yes, it was worth it to push this envelope and to make it all work. And to think that there's no way that this could happen, that all of a sudden I broke the reality of the game. Well, if you took those same Dark Ages knights and sent them up against a appropriate spellcaster that could just cast Fireball, guess what? The same thing would happen. Everybody would just get mowed down with Fireball that could just pop out of nowhere. But that doesn't happen in D&D. And so, therefore, your reality is not broken. You just need to understand that this is a fantasy world, and it is a heroic fantasy world, and I can do whatever I want. I created the game. And if you think that I can't make this story work, well, watch me. Thanks, guys.